Folks, welcome into That Betting Show for Friday, February 15th, 2019. Hope your Valentine's Day was profitable for you. This is your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. Let's get right into it, Teddy. It's a Friday. Just because the NBA stopping and slowing down for their All-Star Premier weekend doesn't mean we're going to stop here. Last night on the hardwood, Teddy, some historical facts going down. Russell Westbrook, yet another triple-double, 44, 14, and 11. But if you backed the Oklahoma City squad last night, you came up with the L, but he does pass Gary Payton, their all-time scoring leader between the franchises, with the Sonics and Oklahoma City. A historic night, Teddy, but hey, doesn't matter to us gamblers unless you cash that ticket.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Gary Payton, record goes down. Oh, well, doesn't matter because OKC didn't win, let alone cover the point spread. And, of course, I mean, what Russell Westbrook has done is truly extraordinary and continues to do. Russell Westbrook as dangerous as any player in the NBA, clearly 44, 14, and 11 last night. And I continue to look at OKC as the most dangerous contender for Golden State come playoff time. But look, we all know how this is going to finish. The Warriors are going to be in the finals. I think the Thunder meet them in the Western Conference Finals, but it's Golden State's title to lose, and everyone else is just an afterthought.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, Teddy, when you look at it last night, because we had some teams up there on the docket, which we're going to talk about next. The New Orleans Pelicans and also the New York Knicks last night. Walking dead. Nobody wanted to bet the New York Knicks. They come up with an easy victory, getting 7.5 to 8 on the road last night. And then we talked about, the tea leaves coming out of New Orleans. And how about this, Teddy, if you were to say, you know what, in a close ball game at the half, Anthony Davis gets hurt, doesn't come out for the second half, and the Pelicans still get the win and cover. Obviously, the outright winner didn't even need the points there. You never know in gambling because, Teddy, I know you talked about it yesterday as well, going into the All-Star break. What are you going to get out of these teams? Some of these teams have multiple All-Stars that are heading to the All-Star break in Charlotte. Some are headed out to Las Vegas. If you had those two alternative plays, like I like to say, between the Knicks and the Pelicans, congratulations to you.
Yeah, exactly. Cashing on the money line, not just plus the points. And, of course, the Knicks now have 11 wins on the season, along with Phoenix 11 wins, and the Cavs have 12 wins. They're all teams that are in prime tanking position, but no team is going to lose every game. And no team is going to look as bad as they did in their single worst game of the season the following time out. That was exactly what we saw last night. New Orleans came with an inspired effort. They were embarrassed in their last game. These are professionals, and they played very, very well. Regardless of the Anthony Davis injury, Julius Randle had a big game. Drew Holiday had a big game. And the Pelicans were basically wire-to-wire job in that contest. We talked about Knicks Hawks on the show yesterday saying, yeah, I understand there's no betting market support for the Knicks, but is Atlanta really the type of team you want to be laying 7.5, 8 points with off a win? And I talked about that Hawks track record off a single victory, which was not a bet on track record. It certainly wasn't a bet on team last night. Knicks got embarrassed. They didn't want to go into the All-Star break and have another week of everyone telling them how badly they suck. Impressive effort from the Knicks, and good for you if you had the Knicks plus the points or on the money line last night. They were both easy right side winners.
Teddy, the story never gets old here, and it's dragging on long, and I just wanted to end here. Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, when are they going to go? A week and a half before the Super Bowl on That Betting Show, I asked Teddy a question and said, when do you think these guys will possibly sign? And right off the bat, Teddy said, not till after the Super Bowl. And we're still sitting here in mid-February, and the tea leaves from around the league, from beat writers and front office guys saying, don't be surprised if this doesn't last till at least mid-March, which means a week, maybe 2 weeks from opening day here. Manny Machado's current odds, let's just say he does go to the Padres, sitting at 10,000 to 1 right now. They did sneak in a secondary visit with him to check and see, hey, you ready to make your move? You ready to get after it yet? Not seeing anything moving just yet, Teddy. Could we really see a mid-March signing between both of these two guys, the two top-level free agents on the market?
Although we have to note this, it's not 10,000 to 1, it's 100 to 1, which
Correct,
reads as plus 10,000.
Plus
right?
10,000, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
So, 100 to 1 on the Padres right now to win the title. They don't offer the 1,000 to 1s anymore because they got burned. And they got burned by the 500 to 1s, and they got burned by the 300 to 1s. And now, even in the NFL, the crappy teams. You're hard to get 200 to 1. Remember when the Rams were 200 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, and they did. So what's happened is that the top end of the market for future odds isn't as priced as high as it was. You don't get those incredible offers or positive expectation opportunities on some of these long shots that may turn out to be live. All that being said, again, I talked about it yesterday. I'm going to talk about it today. The single most impactful free agent signing last year was J.D. Martinez for the Red Sox. He went a long, long way towards taking Boston to the World Series title that they earned last October/November. He was signed late March. Take the over. Anyone giving you a number on when Machado and Harper are going to be signed, take the over. There is no rush, and there's no market. No one's bidding against anybody else right now. So it's one of these situations that will continue to drag on maybe longer than we think.
Yeah, Teddy, I think we have to thank Leicester City from the EPL and their 500 to 1 odds, which we watched in amazement as they won. Yeah, we're not going to see too many future odds being that high again because, as they say, boy, you're wasting your money if you throw it down on that one. Always look to the EPL and that record. I think it was, maybe 2 years ago that 500 to 1 ticket cashed in. So don't think we're going to see those too high here.
That was 5,000 to 1. I mean, that was
what was that?
5,000 to 1. Yeah.
Man, my goodness. That was the one, Teddy, also they were paying out early saying, we're taking so much collateral damage right now. We'll settle with you right now if you accept the number here. It's amazing.
And which isn't a bad move for the bookmakers. One thing the European bookmakers have done very well, they pay out stuff early. They pay out both sides. They do a lot of publicity stunts that generate good publicity. We've seen none of that from the U.S., very little from the U.S. markets, with the exception. Didn't FanDuel pay out something early?
Yeah, exactly. There's been a couple things that have been paid out. Even going back, the little offshore model where they were paying out like the presidential campaign to Hillary Clinton early, paid that out and then won. It's very good promotional stuff. Points Bet, I think it was out of New Jersey, paid on the Saints game, Teddy, with the bad call.
Yeah, yeah, and I thought, again, it's a way for a sports book to make a name for yourself. Good customer service matters. All right, having happy clients matters. And these are the type of things that, with more competition, as there is now across the globe, and certainly here in the U.S., we would expect to see more of. These are good things for bettors, not bad things.
Teddy, we're going to get into overline movers in just a few moments here. But again, we can't stress this enough. Getting the right number long-term, you're going to win more than you lose on these games. Last night, if you had Houston, we talked about on the show, opening up 7.5, going to 8.5 in some markets. And oh no, Teddy, 71-63 final, depending on where you're sitting. You were either tearing tickets or popping the cork on your champagne. And it's one of those games that say, no, 15-point lead with 15 to go. Hey, 10-point lead with 7 seconds to go. Coach screams on the sideline, Teddy, don't foul anybody. Jumper goes down. Nobody really cares, on the bench or whatever. But gamblers cared about that late jumper going down.
Oh, they cared a whole lot about that late jumper going down. The difference, of course, between Houston winning by 8 or winning by 10. And with the closing number in the 8.5 range, having been bet up from 7.5 earlier in the day, that bucket mattered a lot. Unfortunately, if you're on the wrong side of it, it hurt. But the one thing we can say, and this is something that Sportsbook Review is really good at, track the odds, know where to get the best of the number in any given day. If you lost backing Houston last night, you can't blame anyone but yourself. It's your fault you lost that bet. You should have pushed or won. You're capable of doing it. All you need is more outs and the ability to shop around for lines. I encourage you, take advantage of the SBR odds page to know where the markets are moving and how best to take advantage of them.
Absolutely. And on Twitter, give us a follow also at SBR Sports Picks. If you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, congratulations. You got the notification and you're watching me and Teddy right now here. If you haven't done so yet, push that little red button there. Push us up to over 55,000 subscribers here on the channel. And it helps keep the lights on here and brings this content directly to you each and every day. Overnight line movers, Teddy. Ivy League on the move here. What gives here? A little bit of numbers pushing around here. Yale, Columbia, line opens up at 9, and now dips down to 7.5 here. Total of 145, money line split of 350 plus 280. You talk about it all the time, Teddy. Sometimes in these lower level areas where you can't get a lot of money down, but you can certainly push these numbers around, and they do subject to change, as opposed to maybe Ohio State, Michigan, Arizona State. You can find some value in these lower level teams.
Sure. I mean, I'm not an Ivy League guy, and I'm not going to pretend to tell you that I know exactly why this line moved. It does not appear to be injury related.
Come on now.
It appears to be opinion related. And the opinion matters in this instance. As Columbia, I'm still seeing 7.5s out there on Yale as a road chalk. But if you shop around, you can lay 7 right now at some of the leading indicator books. Clear, wise guy move towards the home team in this one.
One team that's burned me quite a bit already this year, Teddy. I like to bet the Metro Atlantic here, as you would like to say, the MAC as opposed to the MAC. Struggling Rider Bronx here, 5 straight losses coming in. Monmouth playing some pretty good basketball. Monmouth already beat the Rider Bronx on February 2nd, which I was sitting on a Rider Bronx ticket down in sunny Costa Rica. Didn't brighten up my day that night. But taking a look at this game here, it's almost like saying, you know what? Line opens up at 6, 5.5, depending where you're shopping at. Now sitting at 7.5. To me, Teddy, one of those line scratchers because Ryder can't get out of their own way. They play at home versus Siena. They get it to down 10, tie it up, down 10, tie it up, can't get over the edge and lost, and then take an awful loss to Quinnipiac the other night where they were up, 9 points with 50 seconds to go? Shell-shocked in this environment, but the line's still going higher.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of and again, this is not a game that I can understand exactly why the money's coming on Ryder. Other than that, it is a circle the wagon spot for Ryder. They've lost 5 in a row. Monmouth has won 4 in a row. So it's certainly 2 teams that are heading in opposite directions. The markets are saying it's circle the wagons time for the home team in a revenge spot. We'll talk about this game a little bit more when it comes to watch what you bet for this evening.
Teddy, I know you like to load up on the NBA All-Star Game with all the angles that you have, and usually your best bets of the year come out of the NBA All-Star Weekend. People know I'm being facetious out there. But how about this? BetOnline always first to market, which we get a kick out of. They open up, Teddy, at 323.5, and as I look at some of the overall numbers right now, dipping down around 310. Now, obviously, that line wasn't around there for a long time, but you're looking at a huge dip in this. And All-Star Game betting, it's just fun to see a line opening up at 323.5, Teddy. Sure.
Yeah, sure. And one thing that you're definitely going to see in a game like an All-Star game where there's no preconceived notion other than historical numbers about where the game's supposed to be totaled at. And we've seen totals all over the map for NBA All-Star games over the last decade. They've gone higher, they've gone lower. What you're seeing here in this instance, BetOnline opens 323.5. Westgate here in Vegas opens 308.5. Penny Offshore opens 312.5. Bookmaker Offshore opens 327.5. That's a really dramatic disparity. You don't see lines open, totals opening 20 points different from one book to another. We have for the NBA All-Star Game. And what'll happen always in these spots? They'll bet where it opens low, they'll bet the over. Where it opens high, they'll bet the under. And you'll start to see the market line right now for the NBA All-Star Game sitting at 310.5. So we've seen some over money, we've seen some under money. Depends on the books. Now the marketplace is mature. One thing that bettors can do to get the best of the number always is take advantage of markets before they're mature. This is the game you might want to bet yesterday or even the day before. As for the NBA All-Star break, I'll put it this way. I bet more money on Orlando last night than I will for the entire All-Star weekend combined. I thought that was a strong spot. I loaded up on that game. Anything I do for the All-Star game will be pure action. The $20 bets, the $50 bets. It's not going to be a back the dump truck up to the betting window for the NBA All-Star Game. There's just not that kind of an edge.
Teddy, I pay more at McDonald's breakfast than I will be betting on the NBA All-Star this weekend. So you got me by a little bit of a margin there. Watch what you bet here on the networks, Teddy. That betting show, you watch this. Now watch what you bet tonight. Interesting one here because the MAC doesn't get a lot of play, the Mid-American Conference, outside of Tuesday night and Wednesday night football. You got 2 20-win teams teeing it up tonight here. Line on the move also. 2.5s around this morning. Now shifting to Buffalo, -3.5 total. Currently sitting, let's see what we have as an updated number here, 160.5. So that also on the move as well. Just from a few hours ago, Chicago at 157. 7 p.m. tip tonight. Buffalo, no slouch on the season, 13-8-1 against the spread, 7-5 against the spread on the road. Toledo, 11-1, Teddy, straight up at home, and 7-4. Really good battle. The two top teams in the MAC tonight coming live.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And let me start with this. I think Buffalo is a dangerous team come March. This is a squad that could make not just a run, not just win a game or two. They can make a deep run. They have that level of talent, and they've shown it against quality foes all season long. Certainly in non-conference play, they did it, and they've certainly been a very consistent team in the MAC. They annihilated Toledo in the first meeting. It was a 30-point win for the Rockets. And some interesting quotes from Toledo in the rematch. Head coach Todd Kowalski. We're a completely different team right now. That doesn't even seem like this season. We've moved beyond that game. Toledo's not known for having a huge home court arena. They're supposed to sell out the Savage Arena tonight. The senior guard, Chris Darrington, we weren't ourselves when we played there. We weren't playing Toledo basketball. We weren't connected. We just had a really bad night that night, and we're better than what we showed, and we plan on showing that on Friday, talking about the arena. I've never seen it sold out, or even with the top pretty much filled up. I'm excited to see what this place is going to look like. We're going to need that energy to win this game. This is one night where the Rockets' home court is worth more than their normal home court edge. That could be enough to get them over the hump against a team that throttled them in the first meeting.
Teddy, Wild A10 here looks like from top to bottom, a very competitive conference. Outside of, the lower level rung teams, Massachusetts and Fordham, you're getting some pretty night-to-night basketball here. Top of the charts, Teddy, VCU 9-2, Davidson 9-2. They're going to take on St. Joe's tonight down in North Carolina. If we take a look at the lines here, opened up at 11, 11.5, depending on where you're shopping offshore. Now down around to 10 at this point at most outlets. If we take a look at the updated over-under, 138.5. So that also on the move from earlier today. We had 135.5 money line splits plus 445 minus 610. St. Joseph's banged up, key players banged up, and it shows 2-7 against the spread on the road this year. Davidson, Teddy, perfect 11-0 at home, but cash in tickets at 70% at a 7-3 clip at home this year as well. Should be a decent one here to watch some basketball. No NBA going on. Why not tune into the A10 tonight?
Well, I think Toledo Buffalo is going to be a better game than this one. I'm not sold on St. Joe's being able to hang tonight. They knocked off Davidson. You talk about Davidson with only 2 losses in conference. One of those came by 1 point at St. Joe. St. Joe was a 4.5-point dog in that game, and they stole it. All right, that was then. This is now. Remind you, Davidson last time at home against St. Joe's, 91-62 last year. They were laying 10.5, and they won by 29. It's a St. Joe's squad that got blasted at home by the Bonnies earlier in the week. Short turnaround. They're 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread, their last 4 on the road. All the losses coming by 8 or more. And it's worth noting, Davidson's going to remember that first loss. They've only had 1 loss since by 3 at UMass. They're the better team. They're in revenge. They're at home. This isn't a live dog, in my opinion. St. Joe's, it's been a rough season. It's not going to get any better tonight.
Touched on a little bit earlier, Ryder opens up as a favorite in MAC play tonight versus Monmouth. Two teams seemingly going in the opposite direction. Teddy, as you talk about maybe a circle the wagons type game. Both of these teams are based in New Jersey. It's not a long way from Monmouth over to Lawrenceville, so it should be a good one there. Should have a nice little crowd set up there in the Ryder Gymnasium tonight at Alumni Gymnasium. The one thing that's interesting here, Ted, again, the line ripping in the opposite direction of what I would think it would be, because if Monmouth was playing good basketball, they had a terrible start to the season, but played some incredibly tough competition. When we take a look right now, just look at the stats alone, 1-8 ATS at home this year, 6-19 ATS on the season as a whole. And if you look at conference play, Monmouth's coming each and every night, 9-4 against the spread, getting, creeping up there around that 7.5, 8 range. This is going to be an interesting one, that whether or not you watch the game or not, I like to look at lines like this because sometimes I get a little bit puzzled by it because of how underperforming Ryder did. Now, are they going to come back to the median, Teddy, here and say, you know what? They were picked to win the Metro Atlantic to start the season, haven't played well. Sooner or later, they're kicking in because they're very talented. What gives here tonight, Teddy?
Look, Ryder is 6-21. You talked about 6-19 this year. They closed out last year 0-2. They're 6-21 ATS their last 27 line games. That does not produce a betting bandwagon. It's the antithesis of a betting bandwagon. Nobody wants Ryder these days. And yet the wise guys really want Ryder tonight. Two teams coming in opposite directions. 5 straight losses for the Bronx versus 4 straight victories for Monmouth. But when you start to look a little bit closer, this is a Ryder team, as you mentioned. Talent-wise, they're as good as anyone in the conference. Mm-hmm. The last 5 losses in overtime, by 1, by 2, by 4, and by 7. So they've been in every game. They just haven't been able to close them out. Against this opponent on this floor, in theory, they should be able to do that. So I can understand the Ryder money, even though I'm not betting it. You're not betting it. Worth noting that Ryder at home has been an under machine, cashing only 2 overs in the last 10 tries.
Yep, we'll keep an eye on those 3 games here off the mic segment to end the day on a Friday before me and Teddy get out of here. The Alliance of American Football, which before the show, which people don't get to see out there, Teddy's making some moves here in this league, but also trying to make some moves on the field to try to increase its, wherewithal on TV, reaching out to Kaepernick, reaching out to Tebow. No surprise that both turned them down, but the surprising tag is, hey, my name's Colin Kaepernick. You're going to have to pay me $20 million or more to play in this upstart football league when Tim Tebow's down, in Port St. Lucie, messing around with the Mets, seeing what he could do at this point. I just thought it was interesting here. Whether or not either one of these guys play, it's always good to get headlines in a new league. They're doing it themselves. Week 2 this weekend, Teddy, of the AAF.
Yeah, I made my first AAF bet for this weekend's games. And certainly when you talk about the superstars, and this league could use a superstar or 2 or 3. Tebow's there. Tebow's at that level, even though he was never a productive NFL player, with the exception of 1 playoff game at home against the Steelers. We saw the real Tim Tebow the following week in New England. You remember that game? I do. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Kaepernick was a legit star. He took his team to the Super Bowl. He was an elite quarterback, and then he got blackballed, and, haven't seen him since. I don't blame him for asking for $20 million and then not playing at all. I think that's the right move for his, for him with this upstart league. Kaepernick's good enough to play in the other league. The teams just don't want him. And his broader picture, his bigger picture is now about social justice and about the NFL, social justice in the NFL. So I don't really blame him for not taking a subpar deal to play for a minor league. As for Tebow, he's got better stuff to do as well. So it's not a league for stars yet. Might be that way in a year or 2, but I'm not surprised that both guys turned down the opportunity to play on Saturdays in February and March and April, as opposed to playing on Sundays in the fall.
Teddy, there was once a saying out there in music, everybody's working for the weekend. Exactly what me and Teddy are doing. Look, just because we're way off the channels here, we're going to be working hard and getting you ready on Monday when we come back after the All-Star break on that betting show. Today was February 15th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Safransky. Give him a follow at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Right Side VP. We'll catch back Monday. Hopefully you cash those tickets over the weekend. Take care, folks.